The fortress shook with thunder as explosions rattled the steel walls. The rebels had breached the outer gates. Their voices roared through the halls. Kill the half-breed. Destroy the child. The newborn's cry echoed inside the chamber, small yet filled with a strange strength, as if it already knew the galaxy was at war for its life. The queen stood tall, her violet eyes blazing with fury. Beside her, Daniel gripped the alien blade in his hands. Once a prisoner, now a father, he felt fire in his chest. This was no longer just about survival. It was about protecting his child. The doors burst open. Rebel soldiers poured in, their weapons glowing. "Protect the queen," Captain Vorik roared, his armor cracked but his spirit unbroken. He and the loyal guards clashed with the invaders, steel against steel, screams filling the air. Daniel rushed into the fight, cutting down the first attacker with a desperate swing. His body ached from weeks of torture, but adrenaline carried him. The queen moved like a storm. Her claws ripped through armor, her roars shaking the chamber. She was still weak from childbirth, but her rage made her unstoppable. The rebels shouted curses. "The child is cursed." But loyalists shouted back, "The child is chosen." The throne chamber became a battlefield. Meanwhile, the physician carried the newborn through secret tunnels, clutching him close. The baby's glowing violet eyes opened for the first time, calm and unafraid. It was as if he understood the danger and accepted it. Back in the chamber, blood stained the steel floor. Daniel fought with raw human grit, blocking a strike meant for the queen. His blade cracked, but he swung with his fists, his strength fueled by desperation. The queen saw him stand against death again and again, and for the first time she understood why humans endured. He was fragile, yes, but he was also unbreakable. The rebels pushed forward. One broke past the defenses, rushing toward the child's tunnel. The queen's eyes widened. "Daniel!" she cried. Daniel lunged, slamming into the rebel before he could escape. They rolled across the floor, blades flashing. The rebel's dagger sliced Daniel's side, blood pouring, but Daniel forced the weapon away. With a final shout, he drove the blade into the rebel's chest. He collapsed to the ground, panting, his body broken but alive. The queen rushed to his side, her claws dripping with the blood of enemies. She lifted him with surprising gentleness. "You bleed for what is not your throne," she whispered. Daniel forced a weak smile. "It's not about thrones. It's about him." Outside, the war spread across the stars. Entire fleets clashed in the void. Loyalist ships against rebel armadas. Planets burned. Cities fell. All in the name of a child who had only just entered the world. But inside the fortress, the battle neared its end. The last of the rebels fell beneath the queen's claws. Captain Vorik, wounded but alive, stood at her side. Daniel leaned on his broken blade, his chest rising and falling in exhaustion. The chamber was silent at last, save for the distant echo of fire. The physician returned, the child still safe in his arms. The queen reached out and took the baby, holding him close. The newborn stared up at her with glowing violet eyes, and for the first time, the queen felt something stronger than power. She felt purpose. Daniel stepped closer, his side bleeding, but his eyes steady. The queen glanced at him. No words were spoken, yet they both understood. This child was theirs, and together they had to protect him. The council arrived soon after, their faces pale with fear at the sight of the chaos. Some bowed low, swearing loyalty. Others turned and fled, knowing the queen's wrath would not spare traitors. The queen stood tall, her child in her arms, Daniel beside her, bloodied but unbroken. She raised her voice so that all in the chamber could hear. "You call this child curse. You call him weakness. But I tell you this, he is neither curse nor weakness. He is the beginning of a new empire." Her voice thundered across the hall, silencing all. Beyond the fortress walls, the galaxy trembled. War would continue. Many would resist. But the queen had made her choice. This child would live, and one day, he would rule. As the fires of rebellion burned across the stars, the queen held her newborn close, whispering words only he could hear. "You are not alien. You are not human. You are more. You are the future." Daniel stood beside her, his hand pressed to his wound, his eyes fixed on the horizon. For the first time since his capture, he believed in something greater than survival. The war for the hybrid had only just begun, but the story of his rise was only beginning. The great hall of the alien palace was silent except for the sound of heavy steps. The alien queen, tall and terrifying, entered the chamber. She was more than 8 feet tall, with shining black skin and eyes that glowed like fire. Her crown of bone stretched high above her head, and every soldier in the room bowed as she passed. She was a ruler feared by thousands of worlds, a conqueror who never showed mercy. But tonight her attention was on one creature only. At the center of the hall stood a human prisoner. His hands were bound with chains of glowing metal, but his head was lifted high. His eyes were sharp, calm, and full of something the queen hated: defiance. The queen laughed, her voice deep and sharp like a blade. "So this is the creature who thinks humans are strong?" she mocked. "So small, so fragile. My warriors crush your kind in hours, and yet you look at me as if you are my equal." Her court of alien lords laughed with her. The sound was cruel, echoing through the chamber. But the man did not laugh. He did not cry. He only said, "One day you will regret underestimating humans." The words were soft, but they struck the queen like a hidden blade. Her smile froze for a second. Then she threw back her head and laughed even louder. "Regret?" she mocked. "I am a queen. I regret nothing. Do you think your weak species can touch me? That I, the mother of empires, would ever need a human?" The prisoner only smiled. Something about that smile unsettled her. It was not the smile of a broken man. It was the smile of someone who knew more than he should. The queen moved closer. Her shadow covered him as she leaned down, her glowing eyes fixed on his face. "Tell me, little human, why do you not fear me? Every creature in this galaxy fears me. Even my enemies whisper my name in terror. And yet you look at me as if I am the one in chains." The man said nothing. He only stared at her with that same calm expression. Her anger burned hotter. She wanted him to scream, to beg, to cry for his life. But he would not. "Perhaps I should kill you now," she said, her long claws tracing the air near his throat. "Or perhaps I should keep you alive as a toy, a reminder of your species' weakness. You humans love to dream of greatness, but in truth you are nothing." Still, he did not break. At last, the queen turned to her court and raised her voice. "Look at him. This human dares to claim strength before me. He dares to speak of regret. Tell me, should I crush him or keep him as a joke for my amusement?" Her lords roared with laughter and shouted, "Keep him! Make him your pet! Show the galaxy how weak they are." The queen smirked. "So be it. You will not die today, human. You will live, but only so I may laugh at you." But as she turned away, a strange sensation rippled through her body. It was sharp, sudden, and unlike anything she had felt before. For one brief second, her steps faltered. She told herself it was nothing. Perhaps only exhaustion. But the feeling returned, deeper this time, like a whisper inside her blood. She clenched her jaw and forced herself to walk with pride. She would not show weakness before her court. She was the queen, and the queen was always strong. Still, the whisper did not stop. That night, as the queen sat on her throne, she could not rest. The image of the human smile stayed in her mind. His words echoed again and again. "One day you will regret underestimating humans." She pressed her claws against the throne, furious with herself. Why did his words matter? He was just a human, nothing more, yet deep in her body the strange sensation grew stronger. A warmth, a stirring, like the first beat of something hidden. For the first time in many years, the alien queen felt something she could not control, and for the first time in her life, she felt the cold touch of fear. The alien queen sat high on her throne, her long claws tapping the armrest as her court filled the great hall. The sound of her soldiers' boots echoed on the black stone floor. Every creature in the room kept their head low. None dared to look into her glowing eyes. She was power. She was fear. She was the ruler of countless worlds. But in her mind she was still thinking about him, the human. She told herself it was only amusement. Nothing more. The way he looked at her without fear. It was laughable, almost entertaining. Yes, that was what she told herself. And yet the memory of his calm eyes stayed with her like a thorn she could not remove. The human sat in the prison chamber below the palace. Chains of plasma bound his wrists and alien guards watched him every moment. But he did not scream. He did not beg. He sat in silence, waiting as if the chains meant nothing. The queen remembered the day she had captured him. It had been on a distant human colony world, a place her armies crushed in a single night. Fires burned across the city, and human ships were torn from the sky. Most of the humans ran. Some fought and died. But this one did not run. He had stood in the middle of the battlefield with nothing but a damaged weapon in his hands. He did not try to escape. Instead, he faced her warship as it landed before him. "Why did you not run?" she had asked him that day, her towering body casting a shadow over him. "Because running would mean I fear you," he had said simply. "And I don't." The memory made her lips curl into a cruel smile now. How foolish humans were. They thought bravery was the same as strength. They thought courage could save them. How wrong they were. The queen rose from her throne and commanded, "Bring the human to me." The guards dragged him into the hall. Chains rattled, but he walked tall. His face was dirty, his body tired, but his eyes burned with the same calm fire. The court laughed when they saw him. Alien lords pointed at him, mocking his size, his fragile bones, his soft skin. "Look at the little creature," one shouted. "So weak, so small." The queen stood, her voice cutting through the laughter like a blade. Silence. The hall grew quiet at once. She stepped down from her throne and circled the human like a predator studying prey. "Tell me, little one," she said, her tone sharp with arrogance. "What makes you stand so tall when your kind has already fallen? Do you think you can still win? Do you think your courage means anything here?" The human lifted his head. His voice was steady. "It means everything. A man without fear is stronger than an empire built on terror." The queen's court gasped, then laughed again. The words were madness to them. How could such a fragile creature speak against the queen in her own hall? The queen leaned close, her glowing eyes inches from his face. "And yet here you are in chains. Tell me, where is your strength now? Where is your courage when your body is mine to destroy?" But he only smiled. That smile again. The same smile that haunted her. The smile of someone who knew something she did not. The queen straightened, her long body towering over him. She turned to her court. "Look well, my lords. This is humanity's finest. A weak animal who dares to look me in the eye. Should I kill him now and end this little game?" The hall erupted in shouts. "Kill him! Tear him apart!" Some roared. Others laughed and said, "No, keep him alive. Let the galaxy see how pathetic humans are." The queen raised a hand for silence. She stared at the human one last time. His chains glowed around his wrists, but still he looked unbroken. "No," she said at last. "He will live. Not as a warrior, not as a hero, but as a reminder of how foolish his kind is. I will keep him alive as my entertainment. A joke in my court. A pet." The court roared with approval. The sound filled the chamber like thunder. The human did not flinch. He simply lowered his head slightly and whispered so low only the queen could hear, "You will regret this." That night, the queen sat alone in her chamber. She told herself she had won. She had crushed his spirit by turning him into nothing more than a joke. She had shown her court that humans were weak, laughable, and unworthy, and yet, as she lay back on her throne, the whisper of his words returned. "You will regret this." She felt that strange stirring in her body again, the same as before. Stronger now, more demanding. She clenched her claws against the throne, furious. It was nothing, she told herself. Only her imagination. But deep down, in a place she refused to admit even to herself, the alien queen felt the first flicker of doubt. The alien queen sat on her throne, her claws digging into the black stone armrests. The hall was empty now. The torches of blue fire flickered against the walls, but she could not rest. The words of the human echoed again and again. "You will regret this." At first, she told herself it was meaningless. The man was weak, a prisoner, nothing more than a toy for her court. His threats should have made her laugh. But instead they stayed inside her mind like a seed she could not remove, and now her body betrayed her. That same night, the queen felt the strange sensation once again. It was not pain exactly. It was something deeper, something that made her chest tighten and her skin burn. It began in her stomach and spread like fire through her veins. She gritted her sharp teeth, refusing to make a sound. No one could see her weakness. Not her court. Not her soldiers. Not even herself. She rose from her throne and moved to her private chamber. The walls glowed with alien symbols, alive with power. She looked into the tall mirror of black glass. For the first time in centuries, she did not see the perfect image of a conqueror. She saw shadows under her eyes. She saw her breath coming faster than normal. And in her stomach, she felt movement. Her hand slowly touched her abdomen. The warmth pulsed again. Impossible. Her race was strong, ancient, powerful. They chose when to create life, and no lesser being could change that. The thought that a human could affect her body was madness. She pulled her hand away and hissed, furious at herself for even thinking it. The next day, her advisors entered the hall with reports of conquered worlds, but she barely heard them. Her mind was not on battles or victories. It was on the burning inside her, the heat that grew stronger with every hour. She dismissed the council early, her glowing eyes sharper than ever. Her lords bowed and obeyed, but when they left the hall, whispers followed. "She is not herself," one muttered. "The queen grows restless," another whispered. "She hides something," a third said. Whispers always spread like fire in the empire. Down in the prison chamber, the human sat against the wall, his chains glowing faintly. When the guards left him in silence, he closed his eyes as though meditating. He felt it. He could not explain how, but he felt it, something connecting him to the queen, a bond forming between them, strange and powerful. He smiled in the darkness. When the queen entered the prison later that night, the human lifted his head slowly, as if he had been waiting for her. She stopped at the edge of his chains. Her glowing eyes burned into him. "What did you do to me?" she demanded, her voice low and dangerous. He tilted his head. "Do to you?" he asked softly. "Nothing. This is not my doing. This is yours." Her claws scraped against the wall, sparks flying. "Do not play games with me, human. Something is happening. Inside me, something unnatural." The man's smile deepened. "Unnatural to you. But to me it is natural. It is life." The queen's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. For the first time her words faltered. "Life?" "Yes," the human said calmly. "Life growing inside you." Her eyes blazed, but her heart thundered in her chest. No, it was impossible. Her body was pure. Her blood was ancient. She would not believe it. The queen stormed out of the chamber, but his words followed her like chains around her mind. That night she dreamed. She dreamed of stars, millions of them, burning across endless skies. She dreamed of Earth, blue and green, a planet she had crushed but still remembered. And in her arms, she held something small, something alive. Its skin was soft, half like hers, half like his. Her eyes opened suddenly. She gasped for breath, her hands went again to her stomach. The warmth was stronger now. A pulse, a rhythm, a heartbeat. Her blood turned to ice. The following day she called her healers in secret. Alien doctors, skilled with machines and ancient rituals, surrounded her with glowing instruments. They studied her body, their faces pale with fear. At last the eldest healer bowed low, his voice shaking. "My queen, it cannot be. But it is true. You are carrying life. A child." The chamber fell silent. The queen's eyes narrowed. Her voice was sharp as steel. "A child of what?" The healer's voice broke. "Half alien, half human." For the first time in her long reign, the queen staggered back, her claws trembling. She remembered her own laughter, mocking the very idea of such a thing. And now it was real. Her court could never know. If her lords learned the truth, they would rise against her. They would call her weak. They would demand the child destroyed. But the human smile burned in her mind. Now she understood. He had not needed chains. He had not needed weapons. He had planted something far stronger, and deep inside, though she wanted to hate it, she felt something new, something terrifying. Something like, for to the throne room of the alien queen had always been a place of power. The walls were lined with fire that never died, the floor carved from stone that once burned with lava. It was a hall of strength, fear, and absolute control. But now when the queen entered, the whispers of her court grew louder. Her glowing eyes scanned the hall. Every lord bowed, but not as deep as before. She could feel it, the doubt. Something in her empire had shifted. And though they did not speak it aloud, she knew what they whispered when her back was turned. The queen walked to her throne and sat tall, her claws gripping the armrests. She would not show weakness. Never. But inside her, the secret grew stronger with every hour. The warmth in her body was no longer a whisper. It was a flame, a pulse, a heartbeat that was not her own, her child. In the shadows of the court, her advisors spoke in low voices. The queen does not command as she once did. She leaves council early, hides in her chambers. She is not the same. The queen's sharp hearing caught every word, though they thought themselves safe. Her anger rose, but she said nothing. If she struck them down now, it would only confirm their fears. Instead, she turned her eyes toward the prison chamber. The human. It was his fault. All of it. He had placed this burden inside her. This life. She hated him for it. And yet every time she thought of the child, her heart twisted in ways she could not understand. That night she summoned her most trusted healer. The alien doctor bowed low, his head trembling. "Tell me again," the queen commanded, her voice low and deadly. "My queen," the healer said carefully, "it is true. There is life inside you. It grows stronger every day, half of your blood and half of his." The queen's claws dug into the throne. She hissed through her teeth. "This cannot be. My kind does not mix with lower creatures. It is impossible." The healer's head lowered further. "And yet it lives and it thrives." Silence filled the chamber. For a moment, the queen considered killing the healer to bury the truth. But then she stopped. If she silenced one, others would only speak louder. The whispers were already spreading. She could not stop them with death alone. When the human was brought before her again, his chains rattled softly. His body was weaker than before, but his eyes, those cursed eyes, still burned with the same fire. The queen stepped down from her throne, towering over him. Her voice shook with rage. "What have you done to me?" The human tilted his head, his lips curving into that calm, infuriating smile. "I did nothing you did not allow." Her claws flashed through the air, stopping just before his throat. "Do not play with me, human. The impossible grows inside me." "And you smile as if you planned it?" The man's eyes softened. "Not planned, fate." The queen froze. Fate. The word struck her deeper than any weapon. She wanted to deny it, to tear him apart, to end his life right there. But her hand would not move. The next day, her empire trembled with rumor. Alien lords spoke in secret chambers, their voices filled with suspicion. "She hides from us. She weakens. Something is wrong with her body. She carries a secret." One lord spat on the ground. "If the queen is weak, then she is no queen. Our people need a ruler of iron, not one who hides in shadows." Another leaned closer, whispering, "I heard a story." A healer spoke too freely before he disappeared. He said, "The queen carries life." "A child." The chamber fell silent. Then came the final whisper, the most dangerous of all. "A child." Of human blood. The queen felt it. The rebellion was not yet here, but it was close. If her empire believed the rumor, they would not only turn against her. They would hunt the child. They would kill it before it ever drew breath. She stood before the mirror of black glass, her hand against her stomach. Her reflection stared back, tall, powerful, crowned in bone. She had mocked the very idea of such a thing. An alien queen with a human child? It had been laughable, and now it was real. Her claws trembled against the mirror. Rage burned in her, but so did something else. Something new. A feeling she could not name. She whispered to herself, "This secret must stay hidden, no matter the cost." But secrets never stayed hidden in the Empire. That night, in the deepest part of the palace, the human whispered to her guards with calm certainty, "The queen carries more than power now. She carries the future." And somewhere in the dark halls, an assassin's blade was being sharpened. The palace was never quiet anymore. Once, the alien queen's halls had been filled with songs of loyalty and shouts of victory. Now whispers crawled through every corner like shadows. Her lords bowed before her throne, but their eyes told another truth. They no longer looked at her with fear. They looked with doubt. The queen felt it. She felt the storm gathering around her. And at the center of it all, her secret, the heartbeat inside her. That night she awoke to silence. Too much silence. Even the guards outside her chamber did not move. Her claws slid across the armrest of her throne as she rose slowly. Then she heard it. A sound, soft but sharp like a blade being drawn. She spun, her glowing eyes catching the shape in the darkness, a shadow moving across the chamber wall. An assassin. The figure leapt forward, blade raised high. The weapon glowed with venom meant for one strike only, to kill her and the life inside her. The queen's roar shook the chamber. She swung her arm, her claws tearing through the assassin's chest. The body hit the ground with a heavy thud, the weapon clattering beside it. The guards stormed in a moment later, but it was too late. The queen stood over the body, blood dripping from her claws, her eyes burning with fury. Her court had dared to send an assassin into her own chamber. The next day, the council gathered. Their faces were calm, but she smelled the truth. The assassin had not acted alone. There were traitors among them. She stood tall before them, her voice echoing like thunder. A hand dared to rise against me in the night. Who among you believes me weak? Who dares to challenge the blood of the queen? No one spoke. Not one of the lords moved. But their silence was louder than words. The queen's claws tightened on the throne. She could slaughter them all here and now, but she could not. She needed the empire. To show her rage now would mean revealing her fear. So instead she smiled. A cruel, dangerous smile. Very well, she said coldly. If my empire doubts me, then let them watch me prove my strength. The next world we conquer will burn brighter than any before. And all will see I am still queen, the lords bowed. But their whispers followed her long after they left. That night, she went to the prison chamber. The human sat there, his back against the wall, his chains glowing faintly. When he saw her, he smiled, always that same calm smile. You look tired, he said softly. Her claws slammed against the bars. You dare speak to me as if we are equals. Your kind is nothing. You are nothing. But even as she spoke, the words tasted hollow. The man's eyes moved to her stomach. And yet part of me grows inside you. Her body stiffened. She hated him for saying it aloud, hated that he spoke the truth so easily. She snarled, Because of you, my court turns against me. Because of you, blades rise in the night. Tell me why I should not kill you where you sit. The man leaned forward, his chains rattling softly. Because you don't want to. The queen's breath caught. For the briefest moment, her eyes flickered with something other than rage, something she refused to name. She turned away, her long cloak swirling behind her. You will remain alive only because I decide it. Do not mistake this for mercy. But as she left, her hand touched her stomach without thinking, and the heartbeat inside pulsed stronger. The following days were worse. The queen discovered poison left in her cup, traps set in her path, guards who looked at her with more suspicion than loyalty. The empire she had ruled for centuries was beginning to fracture, yet she could not bring herself to end the human's life. Against her pride, against her own fear, she found herself protecting him. She ordered stronger guards, sealed the prison with layers of energy shields, and threatened death to anyone who entered without her command. Her lords whispered louder now. Some claimed she had grown soft. Others said she was bewitched by the human, and in the deepest shadows of the empire, rebellion began to form. The queen stood before her mirror once again. She stared at her reflection, tall, strong, crowned in bone, but she no longer saw only herself. She saw her child. Her claws trembled as she whispered to the empty chamber, If my empire dares to take you from me, they will burn. Every world, every star, I will burn it all. Her voice was fierce, but her heart was heavy. She was no longer only a queen of war. She was a mother of something new, and she knew the battle was only beginning. The palace walls trembled with the sound of marching feet. Armies gathered in the great courtyards, banners of fire rising high into the sky. War drums thundered across the empire. The alien queen stood on her balcony, her red cloak whipping in the wind. Below her, thousands of soldiers raised their weapons and shouted her name. To the galaxy, she still appeared unbreakable, a queen of steel and flame. But inside her, the storm grew heavier. The heartbeat in her body was strong now, stronger every day. She no longer needed healers to tell her the truth. She felt it. Her child lived, and the child's life changed everything. Her lords gathered in the throne room that evening. They bowed, but their voices were sharp as blades. My queen, one said, the humans grow bolder. Their colonies refuse to surrender. We must destroy them before they become a true threat. Yes, another agreed. Their weakness is a disease. If we crush them now, none will dare resist your rule. The queen listened, her eyes burning. For centuries she had agreed with such words. She had led wars across the stars without hesitation. But now the thought of wiping out humanity made her claws tremble, because part of her was no longer alien. Part of her was human. When the lords left, the queen descended to the prison chamber once more. The human was waiting. He always seemed to know when she would come. They want war, she said coldly. He nodded. Of course. It is all they know. Fear and fire. Her eyes narrowed. And what would you have me do? Spare your kind? Allow humans to live while my empire calls me weak? The man met her gaze without fear. I would have you choose not for your empire, but for yourself. For the child. The word struck her like lightning. Child. She hated how it weakened her, how it forced her to see herself differently. She hissed, "You dare speak of it?" "I dare because it is real," he answered calmly, "and because you already feel it. You are not only a queen anymore. You are a mother. You know what must come." The queen turned away, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. She wanted to deny it. She wanted to say she cared only for her empire. But the truth pressed harder every day, beating in rhythm with the small heart inside her. Days passed and the empire prepared for war. Ships the size of cities hovered in the skies above her palace. Weapons glowed with enough power to burn entire planets. Her people cheered for conquest, blind to the storm inside their queen. But rebellion whispered in the shadows. Some lords demanded her throne. Some accused her of weakness, of hiding secrets. A few even spoke of a rumor too dangerous to say aloud, that the queen carried life not of pure blood, but mixed. And in the darkest corners of the palace, plots twisted tighter. One night, she stood in the war chamber staring at the galaxy map. Stars burned across the black glass table, each a world she had conquered. Her generals surrounded her, demanding she name the next target. "Strike Earth," one said. "End them at the root. Crush their colonies," another urged. "Show the galaxy your strength." Her claws tightened on the edge of the table. Her empire waited for her command. A single word from her lips and humanity would burn. But the heartbeat inside her spoke louder. She saw her reflection in the glass. Not just a queen. Not just a conqueror. A woman carrying a future she could not deny. The silence stretched too long. Her generals exchanged wary glances. One of them, bolder than the rest, stepped forward. "My queen," he said carefully, "if you hesitate, the empire will lose faith. If you will not act, others will." The threat was clear. The queen's eyes blazed. She slammed her claw down on the table, shattering the glass into pieces. "Do not mistake silence for weakness," she roared. "I will decide the fate of this galaxy, not you." The generals bowed quickly, but she saw the truth in their eyes. Doubt, hunger, rebellion. That night she returned once more to the human. He looked at her with quiet understanding. "They push you toward war. They push me toward betrayal," she growled. "My own lords, my own generals, they do not follow me. They follow fear. And if they learn of the child..." Her voice broke for the first time. "They will try to kill it," the human finished, her glowing eyes locked onto his. "Then I will kill them first." But his voice was softer. "Or you could choose another way." Her breath caught. "Another way?" He leaned forward, his chains rattling faintly. "You have the power to burn the galaxy, but you also have the power to change it. For your child. For both of us." The queen's claws trembled at her sides. For the first time in her long reign, she did not know if she wanted war.